Eagles are the better team. I can't say it any other way.
I don't really think everybody knows what they're about to witness.
I know talent when I see one. I should be an NFL scout.
Jonathan, I don't like that pick. I love that pick.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dorm Debate podcast. As you see, full Halloween outfit. It's the same outfit I've had since 2017. I am a ref. You got the nice flag made out of napkins from Party City from 2017. This thing hasn't even been washed since 2017. It's crazy. It's actually outlandish.
Gonna have to take a shower after this.
Dude. I mean, I could just wash it, but I feel like it's got a lot of memories
napkin?
in it. I could smell the basement party I was at in 2017.
You know what you drank 3 years ago on Halloween?
Yeah, this will tell you, dude. You just gotta take a whiff.
That's
yeah.
outrageous.
Hopefully, you guys are having a great Halloween weekend. Halloween is Tuesday, but a lot of people are celebrating it this weekend. So I'm curious what everybody is for Halloween. John, you looks like you're Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I'm Saquon Barkley.
And Caleb looks like a distressed Eagles fan after watching the Commanders-Eagles game.
That's just
probably
what he's
true.
dressing up as. He's not actually distressed.
I'm in good spirits, but I do look terrible. So yeah, you got me there. All the tech issues before we started recording really sucked the soul out of me. So very vampiric.
Well, it
very
can't
holiday.
it can't be as bad as what Kirk Cousins is feeling right now.
Oh, I feel terrible for him. Like honestly, I know I always put him in like the upper rank of the average quarterbacks, but it's like when you miss when they're gone, and it's like, man, he's a good guy, and it's like what a turn. But like you never wish for this, but I saw it, and I'm honestly gutted for him. Because I think even weeks ago, even when I say that, like when the Vikings were losing, he was the best part. Like this is the 1 year where it's like he's doing his best, and they were talking about trading him and now this happens. So it's like it sucks.
It's a career year for him.
Honestly, and it's like this is the year where it's like, all right, what are the Vikings gonna do? And then it's like, this isn't on him, obviously, but yeah, I'm gutted for him. That sucks.
Yeah, it sucks for the Vikings fans because don't forget they started 0-3, and then they went 3-1 in their last 4 games, and they ended up winning against the Packers. So to go 3-1, now they're 3-4. That's pretty good, and they can still make the playoffs. But then Cousins gets hurt. I mean, now it seems like it's over. I know, Jarad, you wanted to talk about some quarterbacks that they can pick up because they had some Jaron Hall guy from BYU who was pretty terrible.
Sixth
the next
round,
man up.
Yeah, 6th round pick. Nick Mullins was the official backup, but he's on IR for another week. So one more week, and then Nick Mullins can be back. But yeah, if you haven't heard the news, Kirk Cousins likely tore his ACL. The news will probably come out. Achilles,
yeah.
Tore his Achilles.
I made that mistake.
Yeah, I pulled a Caleb. Tore his Achilles. The news will probably come out Monday, but it's very likely. They showed the replay. It looked just like Aaron Rodgers, unfortunately, which sucks. I mean, the QB show on Netflix came out over the summer, and it just showed a lot of like what Kirk Cousins does that, that is not on the field stuff. Like he does a lot of physical therapy and like does stuff for his body that maybe younger players don't need to do, and he has to do it just to be a good elite quarterback. And so he like treats his body right, he recovers correctly, and it sucks to see a guy like this get injured, especially like we've said, it really is a career year for Kirk Cousins. He's having one of the best years he's had in years, which is saying something because the last 2 years he's been great. Some replacements we got to think about here. The first one that I heard about, it was through NBC. They were talking about Colt McCoy, and Colt McCoy has been on the Cardinals for a while and then obviously got released. They pick up Joshua Dobbs. Colt McCoy actually worked out with the Vikings last week, which is really weird. I don't know how or why. Maybe because Nick Mullins was on IR, but Colt McCoy worked out with this team, and he's actually been on a team with Kevin McConnell. So it actually fits together pretty nicely. So Colt McCoy could be an option. A lot of people say reunite the Minnesota Miracle and with Case Keenum. Case Keenum's a backup with the Houston Texans. And then you have your normal people like, Colin Kaepernick, Cam Newton, and who else was there? There were some other guys I had a list of. But, just the normal backups. But the key thing here is the trade deadline is Tuesday. So if they're going to make any moves, it's got to be before Tuesday or before midday Tuesday. And to be honest, if it's not Nick Mullins, if it's not Sean Mannion, who has played with them before, he's on the practice squad. They could promote him. If it's not Colt McCoy, who kind of knows McConnell's playbook, John, I feel like you have the same thought. If you get someone at the trade deadline, how long is it for them to catch up with the playbook and everything?
Right, like it's going to be a while, and they're 3-4, so they kind of need wins now. Now, Colt McCoy, yeah, he might be familiar with the system, and he did just work out for them. Case Keenum, it's a different system. He never played with Coach Kevin O'Connell, so it's going to be different, but he does know the Vikings. Not that that's the same playbook at all, but it's going to be, in my opinion, either Keenum, Colt McCoy, or Nick Mullins, and in my opinion, it's just going to be Nick Mullins. He's been with this team for a while now, a couple years. He's been the number one backup, and he's a good player. I mean, when we saw him as a rookie with the 49ers, he got opportunities, and he was winning games with the 49ers, so I think it's going to end up being Nick Mullins, but I hope that they go out and get either Colt McCoy or Case Keenum just to provide some competition, because they could still make the playoffs. I don't think that they should give up. Jefferson's going to be back in 2 or 3 weeks, and Addison's playing out of his mind. Hawkinson's still there. This is a good team. They played well defensively on Sunday against the Packers, so I don't think they should give up, but I do think that Nick Mullins could definitely win them some games.
Yeah. And Sean Mannion, I feel like he has started some games in the past.
Right.
He's a guy I've heard his name before. He's an older guy. I think he was drafted in like 2014 or something. So he's definitely an older guy. But Nick Mullins, yeah, like you said, he can definitely suffice. He won Mullins. A lot of he won some games for the 49ers. Played well.
It's not a high ceiling though.
No,
I mean,
right.
It's the most hope. I don't think they should. Colt McCoy might be a better fit, but you know what you're going to get at Colt McCoy unless they get Nick Foles and expect something special like that. I mean, Case Keenum is probably the closest thing to something is surprising me versus getting a journeyman quarterback to fill. Like, what's the point? Like, at least have Mullins has been there. If you're going to get someone like Colt McCoy, or if you're not going to go for someone who might have something special. Not that, I mean, he probably can. You never know, but I feel like you know what you're going to get with Colt McCoy, I think.
That's true. You might as well just stick with Mullins.
It's like a piece that fits, but like, what's that going to do for you? Like, you have Mullins is what, like, there. At least Mullins, there's a bit of like, okay, maybe he, learned from when he started for the 49ers, or Case Keenum, there's that special nostalgia, maybe, but if that's the level you're looking at, those are your two options over just a piece that fits, unless you're going for like, I don't know, someone else with a backup that's like Gardner Minshew-esque, or you're trying to make a story.
Jacoby Brisket was another one people were mentioning.
Or like trying to snag like Kyler's coming back, Watson, one of those guys, do something crazy like that,
I think either way, it's tough. I mean, the good thing is if the goal is to make the playoffs here, their next games, they have Falcons, Saints, Broncos, Bears, Raiders. Those 5 are all winnable games, especially the way Addison is playing. Addison's playing out of his mind right now. So just put it in the vicinity, and he's going to make a play. And you got TJ Hawk. Jameis, another one. Eat the W. Always love him. If he gets an opportunity.
If he has I'm just saying, you're right. They have all these players, and getting a guy that can place the ball, it'd be an interesting case study. If you get a journeyman quarterback, will he excel with all these powerful weapons? Mm-hmm. But I think it also shows how good. I think it'll show more how much they'll miss Kirk. But if you're still trying to win a Super Bowl, like, do something interesting. I'm not even a Vikings fan, but I don't like this talk of journeyman quarterback just to fill the position for the year, because then you're going back to what we were talking about when they were losing, like trade and start over.
Yeah, it just sucks because there's not many options for him, but. I don't know. I mean, I think the Vikings at best will make the playoffs and then get pummeled in the first round. But at worst, like I said, they could be under 500. This could be the start of a long skid for the Vikings. Speaking of a long skid, I wanted to talk about my lock and upsets. They're pretty relevant.
What?
So, for a little refresher on my lock and upsets as of recently, 2 weeks ago, I picked the Dolphins over the Panthers, and I picked my upset as the Chargers over the Cowboys. So I only went 1-1. Dolphins won, but then the Chargers lost.
I forgot.
Kalo just having a field day. So 1-1 2 weeks ago. Then last week, I go 0-2. I picked the Bills to win, and I picked the Lions to win. Refresher here, the Lions only had 1 loss, and the Bills only had 2 losses. And they were playing the Patriots and the Ravens. They both lose. So now I'm 1-3. Now going into this week, I feel like I pick a safe pick as a lock, and I pick the Chiefs. They don't really lose. They actually haven't lost to the Broncos in 16 games and haven't ever, Patrick Mahomes hasn't ever lost a road game in the AFC West.
Division, yeah.
Ever in his life. Never mind losing to the Broncos ever.
So
just period in general, yeah.
Maybe that's the safest pick of the week, I would say. I would
You
say.
got a specific quote about like if this is wrong, you think you said something I didn't like.
Oh my God! I said strike me with lightning. I said I said God strike me with lightning.
Oh my gosh! Don't go outside tomorrow.
It was raining today. It was like preparing. It was brewing up.
Dude, if you
storm.
went outside,
it's God's mercy on you. He's like, I know he didn't mean it, but teach him a humbling lesson.
God.
I just forgot. I was laughing because I forgot that was your pick. Cause I was just watching the game, like enjoying it. I was just like, wow, it's rare. It's rare you see a Mahomes bad game. then it just connected that was your weekly pick.
Frick. So then my upset this week was Steelers over Jags, and the Jags beat the Steelers. So I went 0-2. So in the last 3 weeks, I've gone 1-5, and I have never this season had a winning upset pick. So
and on the other hand, I've hit my upset pick 5 straight weeks. Haven't missed an upset pick since week 2.
Yeah.
and I get the last pick.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. That's the worst part of it all is I have the first pick. So we're calling this the Jarad Jinx. John coined it.
Yep.
The Jarad
It's
Jinx.
the Jarad Jinx. It's bad. You don't want Jarad picking your team as a lock.
That Broncos one's actually crazy.
So I think that kind of leads us into some of the big upsets today that some people may have seen coming. Titans over the Falcons, Bengals over the 49ers, Broncos over the Chiefs. I think the first one I want to start with, we've partnered back up with Manscaped to give you guys 20% off and free shipping on all their items. That includes the Beard Hedger and all their below-the-waist grooming products. We all know how injuries can ruin a season, so let Manscaped protect that Reggie Bush of yours with their skin-safe technology. The leaders in below-the-waist grooming have created a championship lineup with their Performance Package 4.0. And it's time for you to do the same. Join the 9 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for kickoff by going to manscaped.com and getting 20% off and free shipping when you use the code DORMDebate. Is the game that happened at 1 o'clock. Titans over Falcons. Some big quarterback things happen. Mm-hmm. The big one that everybody knows, Will Levis threw for 4 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns to DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep.
Threw lights out. Just played absolutely amazing. Rookie. What?
First NFL start.
Not a rookie. Is he a rookie?
Rookie and first NFL start.
He was like a later draft pick, but now he leads the Titans in receiving and passing touchdowns.
Yeah, so
because Tannehill only had
2 in 5 games.
Yo, that alone is already bonkers. This is almost like trade Tannehill to the Vikings right now.
Ooh,
that's an analyst hot take just to stir. But
they have no run game. They have no run game. If you have to rely on Tannehill's arm,
Yeah.
The Vikings.
The Vikings have no run game.
Nothing. Like, there's no way. They just got their first rushing touchdown this week.
Well, that's the biggest problem with the Vikings, not to go to them, but without a run game, it's so hard to just plug a quarterback in there. I mean, you see how other, like, Browns, 49ers, like, you at least have a chance with those quarterbacks when you're subbing in a new guy. Like, okay, they can, with a good run game, it opens up a lot of the offense. So that is going to be a challenge. I mean, it makes you wonder how Kirk survived this long, like how he just dealt with it.
Oh, they're really going to see, like, he was worth every penny.
He really elevated it, so I think I've slightly changed my tune on Kirk, but yeah, Titans, that's crazy. I mean, the Falcons, it's more like I saw that good for Levis, but part of me is like, what are the Falcons doing? Like,
the
head coach,
they benched Ritter.
You guys see what the head coach was saying in like the last conference? He was just kind of very salty about some of the feedback he got about how little he played Bijan, and then there was today where it's like the third string tight end passed to the second string while the first round tight end pick was just blocking or something. Like, what are you doing? I don't know. And it's like, was he trying to just spite everyone? And it's like, when people say use Bijan, it's not like, oh, it's just for fantasy, but it's like you'll win more games when you're using your best assets. And without having watched a lot of the game, I'm just like, after that conference, I'm like, what's the coach doing? Is he just trying to spite all the critics, just to make a statement? But then you lost.
He was.
So, but then I'm like, that's the point, though.
Because the thing is, when Ritter got pulled, he wasn't having his worst game of the season. Like, he was 8 for 12 for like 78 yards and maybe like one interception.
But the three turnovers.
Well, they fumbled
he didn't
like
have
one
three,
pick.
right?
He had quite a lot.
Because I know when they took him out, I was kind of like, yeah, he's not playing great, but it's close. And
who's the backup for the Falcons?
Who's the guy that came in?
Oh, Taylor Heineke.
Yeah, Heineke, the guy you hate.
He had a fumble. Well, he had a fumble lost.
Interception.
So it's not just it wasn't just Ritter. All right.
Actually, he had no interceptions, just one fumble loss.
Yeah, so it was just his one
but
turnover.
Then
that's why I was surprised.
He had like 3 turnovers last week. Then he had 3 turnovers the week before. So they were just like, "Oh man, we gotta nip it in the bud now."
Yeah, before he gets another 3.
I guess. Yeah. What were their defense? Well, the defense is that.
It sucks because this week, their strength on defense is their pass defense, their coverage, and it was absolutely just exploited by a rookie. I mean, obviously, it's DeAndre Hopkins.
But every play that they had was like a 50-yard play.
Yep.
So after DeAndre Hopkins gets a 60-yard touchdown. Okay. Then he gets a 50-yard touchdown. All right, maybe stop the deep ball. Then the other guy, freaking Westbrook-Ikhine, gets a 40-yard touchdown. Okay, maybe now you think you stop the deep ball? No, Hopkins gets another 30-yard touchdown. Like, when do you decide to play 2 safeties?
It's terrible.
He's like, no, I don't want the critics to get any satisfaction. I don't know. You see those dimes by Levis though. Like it was quite different. It's crazy that.
I mean, the question is when Tannehill comes back, a lot of coaches say injury is not going to be the reason you lose your job. Like, you're not going to lose your job because you got injured. So when Tannehill comes back, I don't know if Vrabel said this, but when Tannehill comes back, are they just going to bring Tannehill back in?
No, you stay with Levis right now.
You stay with Levis.
100% Levis is starting next week, no matter what happens to Tannehill. He could grow a third arm and grow a third leg and be the shiftiest guy ever.
Dude, no. I don't know about that scenario, but well, what's the statement? Like, you put, if you're a coach, you really want to put the best player that's going to give your team the best chance to win, right? And especially when it's a rookie where the ceiling's unknown, the floor's unknown. That's kind of what you look at. Like, even with the Patriots benching Mac Jones a few weeks ago, he's still the starter, but it was like that particular day was a time to, you might say the Falcons felt that way about Ritter, but that's also the coach to really evaluate the mindset of your quarterback in that moment. Sometimes they need a little extra love. Sometimes they need tough love. Even Brady would get benched on his particularly bad days. So I think it depends, but if he's got the hot hand, why wouldn't you put him in just to keep the status quo?
And they have a short week. They're playing this Thursday,
Steelers.
So it's unlikely.
You get Hopkins, and the whole season your quarterback, your starter only has two passing touchdowns, and then in one game your backup rookie who you drafted gets 3 with the guy you
4.
picked up, or 4 with with how many Hopkins got. Like you get Hopkins and you don't use him, and then you get a quarterback in there who's using him. Then what's the strategy? You're just gonna. I think they should. And if Levis next week does terrible, then yeah, you have a solid Tannehill if he's healthy. But go with the hot hand, and then because he's still Derrick Henry's gonna if he can hand off the ball, still gonna be fine. Because pretty much a lot of what Tannehill was doing. So at least you're opening up the offense legitimately if you're getting a guy who could throw 4 touchdowns in his first start. That's like how Herbert made his impression in the league. It was just happened to be against Mahomes at the time, but I don't know. I'm not saying Levis is Herbert, but it's a good show.
I gotta say, the mayo in the coffee must be a superpower.
That was him
working. That's him.
Disgusting.
Wow. Disgusting.
No, I can't. No.
You'll never start on my team.
It's like I couldn't do that.
Mayo in the coffee.
Don't knock it till you try it.
No, I can't.
Are you? You're not a coffee guy, are you, or no?
I love coffee. Yeah, but I'm not it's not my identity, but I do drink a lot of it. I don't have a problem.
My identity.
Yeah, I don't I don't have like a mug with it and stuff, but like
next time you pour yourself a cup, just take a look at the mayo jar in the fridge.
Yeah, a little Duke's mayo, little Hellman's.
Just put 1 spoonful in, mix it up.
What's your guys' favorite foods? And then add or favorite drink. I'm just curious.
My favorite drink?
Yeah.
Water, probably.
Yeah, water. Okay, now add mayo to it. Would you guys enjoy
it? Dude, it's even so hard to mix it up. I don't even think it would mix correctly.
That's true. It's oil based, so
and he really puts a lot. There's another thing he does that's really odd. I think it's
you put ketchup on pizza, I think.
No. I think it was crazy. Eat a banana with a banana peel.
That's
He eats the banana with the banana peel?
Let's see. He eats a banana with the banana peel. Yeah, so he literally doesn't peel it. He just eats it.
That's pretty.
What else does he do? We got to figure out more stuff that he does.
Yeah, I mean,
eating habits of Will.
This was the reason he dropped so far. They thought he was a little cuckoo in the head.
Was it what? Yeah, this is comparable. Who was the lineman who was in a gas mask smoking marijuana?
Laramie
Tunsil.
Laramie.
I think. Yeah. I think
What's his first name?
Laramie. Yeah, it's Laramie.
But I think this is that level.
No, not that.
Explains
bad.
why. What mayo in the coffee?
The mayo in coffee.
That's disgusting.
The guy was smoking through a gas mask, dude.
But
this is just mayo. It's like it's good for you.
I don't know. We'd have to check the stats on that.
The last game I want to talk about is the Bengals over 49ers. For a little recap of the last 3 games for Brock Purdy, it's been rough. 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He had 0 going into the Browns game. So just not the best 3 games for him. They're on an 0-3 skid. Any concern, boys? Any concerns for the Brock Purdy lovers out there? Should they have started Darnold, they probably would have won.
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, yeah, he didn't have a great game, but it's tough because they played the Bengals coming off a bye. So it's like, and then the Vikings Thursday night, that's just kind of unlucky. But then the Browns they played the Browns also coming off a bye. So it's kind of a little unfair because when you play a team that's coming off a bye, they've had 2 weeks to prepare for you. So Browns, 2 weeks to prepare for 49ers at home. So obviously they're going to play well. And then Vikings, okay, whatever. But then they played the Bengals. They were at home, but Bengals coming off a bye. We know the Bengals are trying to get everything back together. So it's just a tough stretch for the 49ers. Now they're going to get to go on their bye. Then they're going to play the Jaguars, Bucks, Seahawks. I think they're going to win all 3 of those before playing the Eagles, and we'll see what happens there. But they scored 17 points in each of their 3 losses. So overall, I'm not too concerned. Trent Williams seems like he'll be back after the bye. Same with Debo. McCaffrey is still scoring touchdowns. Kittle's involved. Ayuk. So I'm not really too worried. I'd be more concerned about the secondary. We've seen Charvarius Ward and Lenore just really kind of struggling against these receivers. We saw Addison go 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. Chase went 10 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. So we're just seeing just mediocre football across the board. So I think once they get their bye, which is this week, they'll get everything back together. I'm not too worried.
I've been very indifferent on Purdy, and I still largely am, but I think this is pretty concerning because I've generally said, at least in the recent NFL, that hardest thing to acquire in the NFL is just, as a quarterback, is confidence. And I think it was impressive for the stretch that he's had, the incredible stretch Purdy's had when he's healthy, to succeed when he's had all the weapons and even without some of them and still do well. But I think this is just a moment of where you're seeing him have to face adversity, where quarterbacks do, as good as you are, you see this from Mahomes today, as good as you are, you will have bad games, and how can you bounce back? And so part of me watched some of the 49ers, and it was just how are they going to, this is where you see a different part of a good quarterback. And again, I'm largely indifferent on Purdy, but they were, I think one of the commentators were putting up some of the stats there. He was 8-0 with 1 interception in home games, and then he's had 5 interceptions in the last 3 games and only 2 interceptions in his entire career up until that point. So that kind of backsliding again against good defenses who are prepared, but for how dominant they'd been otherwise, it's like, all right, is the confidence still there? Is it going to bounce back? Or injuries are part of the game, and as the season progresses, you kind of get some wear and tear. But you get people back, but it's still going to be a factor every game, whether it's here or there. You guys get what I'm saying? Like one position or the other. So part of that goes into, well, what's your baseline level of confidence? Can you reach that? And some of that too is, I think one of the stats as well was like Kyle Shanahan's teams are 0-36 when trailing by 8 or more points in the fourth quarter, which goes into they've been so dominant. It's surprising to hear that. It's one of the commentators pointed it out, but it's also kind of that reflects their style of football, where it's very well managed, very well coordinated, so they generally don't have to come back. But this is the adversity problem I think I'm feeling. This is only 1 week, so winning erases a lot of this concern, but it just goes into that mentality part of confidence. Like this team fundamentally does not has 0-36 when trailing by 8 in the fourth quarter. So when you're going up against great teams, and why aren't there more fourth quarter comebacks? Like, you're that good, right. But to make a they made a Super Bowl, but like to win one, you want some of this adversity to bounce back from it. That's why the Chiefs, even though their years aren't always the greatest, as the season goes on, they work through adversity. Those teams that have good challengers, in surprising ways, and still bounce back. So I think this is a part of Purdy's career that is so young that we haven't had a chance to see it. But I think I'm not going to rule him out because it's too reactionary to say, oh, he's exposed, oh, this is a downslide. But it's just going to test whether the confidence is there, getting some weapons back. I did say with McCaffrey there or not, I think that's the biggest factor. He's there. So it's like these are doable games. Part of it's the Bengals also, like John said, coming off a bye, but then also them just getting the engine going again, as they do. But I worry a little bit about whether they're going to be able to bounce back and whether they have that adversity in them to do it when they're not just obliterating teams,
Yeah, I think it's more of a long-term issue because of the stat you brought up about 0-36. Like, it just seems like a coaching issue at that point because that's under Shanahan. So maybe he's just not calling things right. But I think it's good for Purdy because everybody's been hyping Purdy up. I mean, Jared, you and Jonathan have been pretty down on him because everybody's been hyping him up so much. And this was coming. I mean, we knew it was going to come at some point. And it's good for him to face it because you can't be perfect in your career. You can't win every game. You can't not throw interceptions. So he needs to go through this sort of thing. And it's good for the 49ers to go through it before their bye, a 3-game skid. They'll have their bye in a couple, not easy games, but they'll have a couple winnable games after their bye to get back into it. So I'm not really worried. They're still going to win the division and make the playoffs.
Well, they're not leading the division now, right?
No,
Seahawks
tied. It's a 3-way tie, and then the Ravens are number 1.
Seahawks are
no, they're tied with the Seahawks. That's it.
Are the Seahawks
sorry. I thought you were talking about the Bengals.
Yeah, the Seahawks technically have a better win percentage,
right? Because
they have the same amount of wins, but they're still going to win the division. But I'm more concerned about this team as a whole, like coming from behind, like that aspect.
Well, I think that's part of it too. Is more like still, about halfway, but these. Like, it's starting to become clearer when it matters more when the Seahawks win and your team loses. So I wouldn't say it's as given. If it's a team problem, then I don't know if it's as given that they won't be vying for like it's not as, it doesn't feel as sure that they're going to get home field advantage. They're going to get the top of the whatever aspect of the NFC they can. It seems like if it's a team problem, I feel like you're starting to watch these other teams start to gain traction, or at least win the close games like the Seahawks against the Bengals, and it's like, okay, this is going to affect our fate a few weeks down the line. Every game matters, but here it's like, okay, this is where it's starting to get clearer.
Is it safe to say the Bengals are pulling another Bengals and they are officially back after their beginning struggles? Because they've won 3 straight games. They've beaten the Cardinals, the Seahawks, the 49ers, and they will now face the Bills in a prime time game on Sunday. So
Good one.
Be fun.
And the one big thing that I'll say, yes, they are back, and the reason being is weeks ago I talked about Jamar Chase, how they weren't really targeting him that much, and he was like not even top 25 at that time in receptions or yards. And I'm like, dude, why aren't you throwing to this guy like 10 plus times? And that's what they've been doing. They've been throwing to him 10 plus times. I think he had 10 receptions or 11 receptions today. That is your guy. If you're going to win or lose, you're going to win or lose on Jamar Chase's behalf and Joe Burrow throwing the ball. So that's probably why they're back. Mixon did get a touchdown today. The run game's starting to pick up slowly but surely. But I think it's safe to say that the Bengals are near their old form. I think this Bills game will be a really good test to see. It's been 3 games. They've won 3 straight. Now you have that test. The 49ers were a great test, yes. But it is a little murky. Yeah, it's a little murky. They've lost 2 straight. Brock Purdy's kind of injured with the concussion. Debo wasn't there. So, a lot of people had them winning. It's still an impressive win. Great win. But this Bills one is like, okay, the Bills and Bengals might as well be a rivalry. So this will be a great opportunity for the Bengals in Buffalo, nonetheless. In Cincinnati. So that's a Damar Hamlin game. Hopefully Damar Hamlin's there, but it's going to be a very emotional game for the Bills. They're going to want to win, and I don't know. I mean, I think that will be a real telling game because it's a conference rival and it's a playoff rival. So for me personally, the Bengals need to win that game to gain that confidence back, but also for the division. The Ravens are 5-2, and let's see what their next game.
6-2, I think.
6-2, and their next game is against the Seahawks, which they should win. It's in Baltimore. Then they got the Browns, and then they face the Bengals. And I think the Ravens could be 8-2 going into that Bengals game. So not only do they need this win, but they can't fall too far from the Ravens so that they can take the division. It's very crucial that they win the division, get home field advantage. I mean, it's the Bengals are back, but they're in the thick of the schedule right now.
Right. It's like, why do they do this to themselves? I'm sure it's not intentional, but I'd agree with you. It's like, but why?
They should be up and running by now. But now they're like, okay, we got a couple games under our belt, and now we have our test bright and early. It's gonna be tough, but I think overall the Bengals are back. Would you all agree?
Well, it's like they studied really hard, and they're starting to ace a couple tests, but now it's like an exam. Like, okay, this is the midterm. This is like something where you're gonna get exposed or not. And I do fully agree with you. It's just more fundamentally as a coaching, like same problems we talked about in the first few weeks. Why let yourself get here? Because now the Bengals might be a few weeks down the line looking at some of those losses and the way the numbers lay out for the playoffs, and it's going to come back to bite you. Now, I don't think it was intentional, but it's like, what's going on that this is a pattern? As long as Joe Burrow's healthy, I agree, because that certainly was a factor in the early games too. But healthy Joe Burrow, I mean, even if they were to lose a close one to the Bills, I don't think it's over, obviously. It'd be a fair test. But, I can't see a scenario where they wouldn't be back up to form. Chase is happy, doing well. I'm happy. I have Chase in fantasy. So all the things are clicking together. Like, what would it take for it to not work out? I think just an injury to Burrow, which you hope doesn't happen.
Right. Yeah, I feel the same way. I still feel the same way I did a few weeks ago. I still don't think there's anything wrong with the Bengals. They're just going to take time. Like in the past we've seen, they take time to get going. So I still think they're going to win the division, and I think they're going to do well in the playoffs as well.
Do we think they're Super Bowl contenders though?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I'd say
I
yes
think
with
so.
Burrow healthy, but you just watch any of the game, like it's still some of the pressure they get, a little bit of the pocket pressure.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that line.
It's like every year we talk about this.
It's going to be an issue, especially if the Bengals face the Ravens and the Ravens have home field advantage. Ravens are going to kill them.
I don't know about that.
It'll
just be
interesting,
a flip flop of last playoff where the Bengals had home field and then Ravens play them as a wild card. If the Bengals get the wild card, they play the Ravens. Ravens are going to destroy them.
Ooh,
I
that's
don't
because
know
Ravens
about
have
that.
been
We'll see them
quietly-
both play in Baltimore in 3 weeks.
Ravens
Yeah.
have been good. It's just that they don't get talked as much. But like I think Lamar's put any question to bed. He's an elite top tier quarterback. You know, it's just all right. Got to get to the promised land. So I don't know. It's part of me thinks the Ravens are in a better position than the Bengals. They don't have a guy like Chase,
Currently, yeah, they are.
but right now, yeah, it's too early. But I do think that's same again. The
Like-
Bengals
like
start
we
like this
always
every
say.
year, and then even throughout the whole season, they have a liability on protection. So
Yep.
it's like, all right, are we gonna do this again? Or
They
you're gonna-
literally are
or-
just like, oh, we made it to the playoffs. We might as well keep it all the same, not change anything. And our same problem is going to be our offensive line. Like,
and hope for magic from Burrow to which I think maybe they did in their Super Bowl run, where it's like, all right, yeah, he has that ability to do that. So
mhm.
I'm sure I know they've tried, they've gotten help, but this is a pattern. So, right.
Yeah. I mean, I think they need home field advantage. I think these next couple games will be telling. It'll be interesting to see if anybody picks Bills or Bengals, because I think the Bills would probably be favored. So the Bengals are going to be another upset team. Someone could potentially pick them this Tuesday when we have our next podcast. So we'll be on the lookout for that. I might pick Bengals, which would be good for Bills fans. That would solidify
Yeah.
a win.
Let's see what Jonathan picks, because we know he loves to hate the Bills.
He loves to hate him. Loves to hate him. All right. Well, that will do it for our Week 8 reaction episode. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And if you haven't already, go over to our TikTok and our Instagram at Dornbait Podcast and sauce us a follow over on there. And if you're not following on the YouTube, if you're not subscribed, man, come on. You hurt my feelings. It's Halloween weekend. I'm so happy, and you just brought me down. Hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 5,000. Please hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave us a 5-star review. It helps us out a ton. Thank you guys again. And as always, we will see you guys next week.